The crimson dust of Proxima Centauri swirled around Dr. Elara Vance's boots as she trudged across the alien landscape. Her exosuit's sensors blinked steadily, monitoring the harsh conditions of humanity's first extrasolar colony. After 3 years on this desolate world, Elara had grown accustomed to its rust-colored vistas and perpetual twilight, but she never ceased to marvel at the alien beauty surrounding her. As lead xenobiologist for the Proxima expedition, Elara's days were filled with cataloging strange microorganisms and searching for signs of more complex life. Today's excursion had taken her farther from the main settlement than usual, into a region of jagged canyons and towering spires of eroded rock. A flicker of movement caught her eye, and Elara froze mid-step. She held her breath, certain she had imagined it. Nothing on this world moved quickly. The largest life forms they discovered so far were lichen-like organisms that grew at a glacial pace. There it was again, a flash of silver among the ruddy stones. Elara's heart raced as she slowly turned her head, afraid any sudden movement might startle whatever she had seen. Her eyes widened as they locked onto a sight that shattered everything she thought she knew about this world. Crouched behind a boulder, regarding her with enormous, luminous eyes, was a child. But not a human child. This being was unmistakably alien. Its skin shimmered with a metallic sheen, and delicate, fin-like appendages quivered along its arms and neck. The creature couldn't have been more than a meter tall, with a lithe, almost fragile build. Elara's scientific mind whirled with questions, but a more primal instinct took over as she noticed the alien child's labored breathing and the way it clutched at its midsection. Whatever this being was, it was clearly in distress. "Hey there," Elara said softly, knowing her words wouldn't be understood, but hoping her tone would convey her intentions. She took a slow step forward, hands raised to show she meant no harm. "It's okay, I won't hurt you." The alien child flinched at her approach, but didn't retreat. Instead, it made a series of clicking sounds that Elara's universal translator couldn't begin to decipher. As she drew closer, she could see desperation in those large, expressive eyes. A loud rumble shook the ground, and Elara stumbled, nearly losing her footing. She whipped her head around, searching for the source of the disturbance. In the distance, a plume of dust rose from behind a ridge. The alien child let out a frightened trill and pressed itself against the boulder. Elara's comm unit crackled to life. "Dr. Vance, this is base camp. We're detecting seismic activity in your vicinity. Return to the settlement immediately." She hesitated, torn between her duty to report back and her unwillingness to abandon this unprecedented discovery. The decision was made for her as the alien child suddenly darted forward, clutching at her leg with surprising strength. "Negative, base camp," Elara replied, her voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through her veins. "I've made contact with a non-terrestrial sentient being. Repeat, I have made first contact." The silence that followed was deafening. Elara could almost hear the shock rippling through the command center back at the settlement. Finally, the comm crackled again. "Dr. Vance, maintain your position. We're sending a team to your location immediately." Elara looked down at the alien child, who was now trembling violently. Whatever had caused that seismic disturbance, it was clear the young alien feared it far more than it feared her. She made a split-second decision that would change the course of human history. "Negative, base camp," she said, scooping the surprisingly light alien into her arms. "The subject appears to be in distress. I'm bringing it in for medical attention." Ignoring the protests erupting from her comm unit, Elara began to run. The alien child clung to her, its metallic skin cool against her exosuit. As they crested a rise, Elara's breath caught in her throat. In the valley below, half buried in the rusty soil, lay the twisted wreckage of what could only be a spacecraft. The ground shook again, more violently this time. In the distance, Elara could see a massive shape moving through the canyon, kicking up clouds of dust as it approached. Whether it was some unknown native life form or another alien presence, she couldn't tell. but the terror radiating from the child in her arms told her all she needed to know. Elara ran faster, her muscles straining against the planet's higher gravity. The settlement was still kilometers away, but she pushed on, driven by a determination she didn't fully understand. This wasn't just about scientific discovery anymore. This child, this impossible, wondrous being, needed her help. As the sounds of pursuit grew louder behind them, Elara made a silent vow. No matter what it took, no matter what she had to sacrifice, she would protect this alien child. In that moment, she wasn't just a scientist or an explorer. She was humanity's first ambassador to the stars, and she would show the universe that humans were capable of compassion that transcended the boundaries of species. The crimson dust swirled around them as Elara ran towards an uncertain future, carrying with her the weight of two worlds and the hope for a new era of interstellar understanding. The alien child's weight grew heavier in Elara's arms as she pushed herself to the limit, her legs burning with exertion. The settlement's biodomes glimmered on the horizon, a tantalizing promise of safety that still seemed impossibly far away. Behind them, the ominous rumbling continued to grow louder. Elara's comm unit erupted with a cacophony of voices, the expedition's leadership demanding explanations, the security team coordinating a response, and the medical staff preparing for an unprecedented patient. She tuned them out, focusing solely on putting one foot in front of the other. The alien child stirred in her arms, making a series of chirping sounds that somehow conveyed both fear and gratitude. Elara glanced down, meeting those luminous eyes. "Hang in there, little one," she panted. "We're almost there." Suddenly, the ground beneath her feet began to tremble violently. Elara stumbled, nearly losing her grip on her precious cargo. She turned to look back and felt her blood run cold. A massive shape was emerging from the swirling dust storm, a behemoth that defied easy description. It seemed to be a living vehicle, part biological and part mechanical, with tentacle-like appendages that gouged deep furrows in the earth as it moved. The alien child let out a terrified keen, burying its face against Elara's chest. Whatever that thing was, it was clearly after the child. Elara's mind raced, trying to piece together the situation. Was this some kind of interstellar conflict, a predator-prey relationship, or something even more complex? She had no time to ponder as the monstrous pursuer let out a deafening roar that shook her to her very bones. Elara pushed herself even harder, her muscles screaming in protest. The settlement's perimeter fence was now visible, a shimmering force field designed to keep out Proxima's more aggressive microfauna. It had never been tested against anything like what was chasing them now. "This is Dr. Vance," she shouted into her comm. "Lower the perimeter shield. I repeat, lower the shield immediately." "Negative, Doctor," came the terse reply. "We cannot compromise the safety of the entire settlement for. Damn it, if you don't lower that shield, you'll have two corpses on your conscience." Elara snarled, her usual composure shattered by desperation. There was a moment of agonizing silence, broken only by the thunderous approach of their pursuer. Then, miraculously, the shimmering barrier flickered and disappeared. Elara put on a final burst of speed, practically throwing herself and the alien child through the gap. "Shields up," she screamed, collapsing to her knees just inside the perimeter. The force field snapped back into place mere seconds before the monstrous entity slammed into it. The impact sent shockwaves through the ground, and for a heart-stopping moment, Elara feared the shield would fail. But it held, the creature's tentacles scrabbling uselessly against the energy barrier. As the dust settled, Elara found herself surrounded by a ring of stunned colonists, their weapons trained uncertainly between her and the alien menace beyond the shield. The alien child trembled in her arms, making soft, distressed sounds. "Dr. Vance," a stern voice cut through the chaos. Governor Chen, the expedition's leader, strode forward, her face a mask of barely contained fury. "You have exactly 10 seconds to explain what in the hell is going on." Elara struggled to her feet, still cradling the alien child protectively. "Governor, I know this looks bad, but please, we need to get this child medical attention. It's injured, possibly starving, and..." "That child is an unknown alien life form that you've brought into the heart of our settlement," Chen snapped. "Not to mention the monstrosity trying to break down our door. Do you have any idea what you've done?" The alien child chose that moment to raise its head, those impossibly large eyes scanning the crowd of humans. It made a series of clicks and whistles, then to everyone's shock, a halting voice emerged. "Help, please. Danger comes." A stunned silence fell over the assembled colonists. Ilara's scientific mind whirled with implications. The child must have some kind of adaptive linguistic ability, piecing together rudimentary English from what it had heard. Before anyone could react, alarms began blaring throughout the settlement. A technician's panicked voice came over the public address system. "Multiple objects entering atmosphere. They're on a direct course for the settlement." Governor Chen's face paled. "It's an invasion," she whispered. The alien child shook its head vehemently. "No, rescue," it managed to say. "My people, come." Ilara locked eyes with Governor Chen, the weight of the moment pressing down on them both. In the span of a few hours, that isolated colony had become ground zero for humanity's first contact with not one, but two alien species. Every decision they made now would shape the future of interstellar relations. "Governor," Ilara said, her voice steadier than she felt, "I think it's time we extend a proper welcome to our new guests." Chen nodded grimly. "May whatever gods are out there help us," she muttered. Then, squaring her shoulders, she turned to address the colony's security chief. "Prepare a delegation. We're about to make history." As the settlement erupted into frenzied activity, Ilara looked down at the alien child in her arms. Despite everything, she couldn't help but smile. "Well, little one," she said softly, "it looks like we're in this together now." The child blinked up at her, then slowly, unmistakably, returned her smile. In that moment, Ilara knew that no matter what challenges lay ahead, this unexpected alliance would change the course of both their species forever. The next few hours passed in a blur of frantic activity. As the colony's medical team worked to stabilize the alien child, Ilara found herself thrust into the role of impromptu diplomat. She stood beside Governor Chen in the hastily prepared meeting chamber, her heart pounding as they awaited the arrival of their extraterrestrial visitors. The alien child, whom Ilara had taken to calling Nova, due to the star-like glimmer of its skin, rested in a modified stasis pod nearby. Its condition had stabilized, but the colony's doctors were still struggling to understand its alien physiology. "Any word on our other guest?" Ilara asked, glancing nervously at the vidscreen showing the perimeter shield. The monstrous entity that had pursued them still prowled just beyond the barrier, its tentacles occasionally lashing out in futile attempts to breach the force field. Governor Chen shook her head grimly. "Nothing yet, but I'm more concerned about what's coming down from orbit. Are you sure the child said these were its people?" Before Ilara could respond, a low hum filled the air. The room's occupants watched in awe as three shimmering forms materialized before them. As the teleportation effect faded, Ilara found herself face to face with adult versions of Nova's species. The aliens were tall and elegant, their metallic skin rippling with colors that seemed to shift with their emotions. The central figure, clearly the leader, stepped forward. When it spoke, the words emerged in perfect English, though its mouth didn't move. "I am Zar-El, emissary of the Luminae," the alien intoned. "We have come for the child you call Nova. We thank you for your care, but now you must return it to us." Governor Chen, to her credit, maintained her composure. "Emissary Zar-El, we welcome you to Proxima Colony. We're honored to make first contact with your species. However, I must ask about the creature outside our shields. Is it also one of your people?" A ripple of what might have been discussed passed over Zar-El's features. "The devourer is not of our kind. It is a cosmic predator that hunts our young. We have pursued it across the stars." Ilara's scientific curiosity overcame her awe. But why? What does it want with your children? Zar-El turned those luminous eyes on her, and Ilara felt as if her very soul was being examined. Our young possess a unique energy, Dr. Vance. An energy that, if harnessed, could power entire civilizations or weapons of unimaginable destruction. The implications hit Ilara like a physical blow. Nova wasn't just a lost child, it was a living power source that could reshape the balance of power in the galaxy. Governor Chen's voice was taut with tension. And what do you intend to do with this energy? That is not your concern, Zar-El replied coldly. The child belongs to us. We will depart with it immediately. Ilara felt a surge of protectiveness. And if Nova doesn't want to go with you, it came to us for help after all. The temperature in the room seemed to drop as Zar-El's gaze hardened. The child has no choice. Its destiny was determined before it was born. Now stand aside. As the Luminae advanced toward Nova's stasis pod, alarms suddenly blared throughout the colony. The perimeter technician's panicked voice filled the chamber. The shield is failing. The creature is breaking through. Chaos erupted as colonists rushed to defensive positions. Through the vidscreen, Ilara watched in horror as the Devourer's tentacles finally breached the energy barrier, ripping a hole in humanity's only defense. In the confusion, Ilara made a split-second decision. She slammed her hand on the stasis pod's release, scooping up the now-conscious Nova. "Run," she shouted to the child, who seemed to understand perfectly. As they fled down the corridor, Ilara heard Zar-El's enraged cry behind them. She knew she was potentially dooming humanity's first interstellar alliance, but something deep in her gut told her that handing Nova over to the Luminae would be an even greater mistake. They rounded a corner, coming face to face with a group of panicked colonists. Among them was Dr. Yuki Tanaka, the colony's chief engineer and Ilara's closest friend. "Ilara, what the hell is going on?" Yuki demanded, eyes wide as she took in the alien child. "No time to explain," Ilara panted. "But I need your help. Is the prototype ready?" Yuki's eyes widened in understanding. "The jump drive." "Ilara, it's not tested, it cooled." "It's our only chance," Ilara cut her off. "Can you get it online?" For a moment, Yuki hesitated. Then her face set in determination. "Follow me." As they raced toward the colony's experimental lab, the sounds of battle echoed through the corridors. The Devourer's roars mingled with energy weapon discharges. Whether from the humans or the Luminae, Ilara couldn't tell. They burst into the lab, where a sleek experimental shuttle sat waiting. Yuki's fingers flew over the control panel, bringing the systems online. "It'll take a few minutes to power up the jump drive," she warned. Ilara nodded, turning to Nova. The alien child's eyes were wide with fear, but there was trust there too. "I know you can understand me," Ilara said softly. "We're going to get you out of here somewhere safe. But I need to know, do you want to come with us?" Nova was silent for a long moment, those star-like eyes seeming to peer into Ilara's very soul. Then, slowly, it nodded. The lab door burst open, revealing Zar-El flanked by his fellow Luminae. "You cannot comprehend what you're doing," the alien leader snarled. "The fate of galaxies hangs in the balance." Ilara stood protectively in front of Nova. "Maybe so," she replied, her voice steadier than she felt. "But I won't let you treat a child like a weapon or a power source. Every being deserves the right to choose their own path." As Zar-El raised a hand crackling with energy, the shuttle's engines roared to life. Yuki's voice rang out. "It's now or never, Ilara." In one fluid motion, Ilara scooped up Nova and leaped into the shuttle's open hatch. The last thing she saw before the door sealed was Yuki's determined face as her friend slammed the launch controls. The shuttle shot forward, bursting through the lab's emergency doors and out into Proxima's crimson sky. As the experimental jump drive hummed to life, Ilara held Nova close, whispering a silent apology to the colony she was leaving behind. In a flash of impossible light, the shuttle vanished, carrying its human and alien passengers towards an uncertain future, and leaving behind a colony on the brink of chaos, caught between two alien forces beyond their comprehension. The experimental jump drive's light faded, leaving Ilara and Nova floating in an unfamiliar star system. The shuttle's viewscreen showed a vast nebula stretching before them, its swirling colors a stark contrast to the red hues of Proxima Centauri b. Ilara's hands trembled as she checked the ship's systems. The jump drive had burned itself out, leaving them stranded light years from home. She turned to Nova, who was staring out at the alien vista with a mixture of awe and trepidation. "I'm sorry," Ilara said softly. "I didn't mean to bring us so far, but at least we're safe from both the Luminae and the Devourer, for now." Nova turned those impossibly large eyes toward her. The alien child's voice, still halting but growing stronger, emerged. "Thank you, Ilara. You risked much." Ilara managed a weak smile. "Yeah, I guess I did. But I couldn't let them treat you like a thing instead of a person." She paused, the weight of her actions finally sinking in. "I just hoped I didn't doom the colony by leaving." As if in response to her fears, the shuttle's comm system crackled to life. Yuki's voice, distorted by distance and interference, filled the cabin. "Ilara, Nova. If you can hear this, we're alive. The Luminae and the Devourer, they're gone. But things here are complicated. Be careful out there." Relief flooded through Ilara, followed quickly by a renewed sense of purpose. She turned to Nova, determination etched on her face. "All right, little one. We need to figure out where we are and how to get back. But first, I think it's time you told me the whole story. What exactly are you, and why are the Luminae and the Devourer so interested in you?" Nova was silent for a long moment, those star-like eyes seeming to peer into depths of space visible only to it. When it finally spoke, its voice carried the weight of ancient secrets. "My people, Luminae. Not always as you see," Nova began. "Long ago we transcend physical form, become energy, but some won't return to flesh. Create me, others like me, new generation." Ilara listened, enraptured, as Nova wove a tale of a species that had evolved beyond physical bodies, becoming beings of pure energy. But a faction among them yearned for the sensations of corporeal existence. They had engineered a new generation of Luminae, like Nova, with the ability to shift between energy and matter. But process, unstable, Nova continued, a shudder running through its metallic form. "We children, conduits, channel vast energies, dangerous." "And the Devourer?" Ilara prompted gently. Nova's eyes darkened. "Devourer, ancient, hunts beings of energy, drawn to us, our power. Luminae fear, would use us as weapons. To fight Devourer, other threats." Ilara's mind reeled at the implications. Nova and the other Luminae children were caught in a cosmic struggle beyond human comprehension. Yet, looking at the small, vulnerable being before her, Ilara saw not a weapon or an energy source, but a child in need of protection and guidance. "Well," she said, squaring her shoulders, "it looks like we've stumbled into something much bigger than we imagined. But I made a choice back there, and I'm sticking to it. We'll figure this out together, Nova, I promise." As Ilara turned back to the shuttle's controls, trying to make sense of their position in this unknown region of space, proximity alarms suddenly blared. A massive shape emerged from the nebula's swirling gases, a ship of alien design, dwarfing their tiny shuttle. Nova pressed against the viewscreen, eyes wide. "Not Luminae," it whispered. "Not Devourer, new." Before Ilara could respond, a beam of energy engulfed their shuttle. She felt a strange tingling sensation, and the world around them began to shimmer and fade. As the teleportation effect took hold, Ilara reached out and clasped Nova's hand. Whatever they were about to face, they would face it together. A human scientist and an alien child, united by circumstance and choice, about to embark on the next phase of their journey into the unknown. The shuttle dissolved around them, and Ilara's last thought before the teleportation completed was a silent promise to protect Nova, to unravel the mysteries they'd stumbled upon, and somehow, someday, to find a way back home. In a flash of light, they vanished from the shuttle, leaving behind the familiar confines of human-controlled space and venturing into a galaxy far more vast, complex, and wondrous than Ilara had ever imagined. The teleportation effect faded, leaving Ilara and Nova standing in a vast chamber unlike anything Ilara had ever seen. The walls seemed to be alive, pulsing with bioluminescent patterns that shifted and flowed. Around them stood a diverse array of alien beings, each more fantastical than the last. At the center of the chamber, seated on what appeared to be a living throne, was a being that radiated authority. Its form was vaguely humanoid, but composed of swirling energy contained within a translucent exoskeleton. "Welcome, travelers," the being's voice resonated in Ilara's mind. "I am Santor, arbiter of the Galactic Conclave. Your arrival has been long anticipated." Ilara blinked in surprise. "Anticipated? But we didn't even know where we were going." Santor's form rippled in what might have been amusement. "The cosmos works in mysterious ways, Dr. Vance. Your choice to protect the young Luminae has set in motion events that will shape the fate of galaxies." Nova pressed closer to Ilara, its metallic skin cool against her hand. Ilara straightened, facing Santor with determination. "With all due respect, Arbiter, we've had our fill of cosmic destinies. Nova is a child, not a pawn in some galactic game." A murmur rippled through the assembled aliens. Santor raised a tendril, silencing the chamber. "Your protective instinct does you credit, human, but you must understand the gravity of your situation. The Luminae and the Devourer are merely the first players in a cosmic drama that has been unfolding for eons." With a gesture, Santor conjured a holographic display of the galaxy. Points of light flared across its spiral arms. Across the universe, ancient powers are stirring. The energy beings you know as the Luminae are but one faction. There are others, each with their own agenda for the future of existence itself. Ilara watched in awe as the display shifted, showing epic battles between energy beings that dwarfed stars. "And the children like Nova," she said slowly, "they're the key to it all, aren't they?" Santor nodded sullenly. "They are the bridge between matter and energy, the linchpin in the balance of cosmic forces. Some would use them as weapons, others as tools of creation, but all seek to control them." Nova's voice, stronger now, rang out. "But we are not tools, not weapons. We are alive." Pride swelled in Ilara's chest at Nova's words. She faced Santor and the assembled conclave with renewed determination. Nova's right. Whatever cosmic drama is playing out, these children deserve the right to choose their own path, and I'll do whatever it takes to ensure they get that chance. A ripple of what might have been approval passed through the chamber. Santor's form pulsed brightly. "Your conviction is admirable, Dr. Vance. But good intentions alone will not be enough. The forces arrayed against you are vast and ancient." "Then help us," Ilara pleaded. "You brought us here for a reason. There must be something we can do." Santor was silent for a long moment. Finally, it spoke. "There is a possibility. An ancient artifact, created eons ago when the first energy beings transcended physical form. It was designed to stabilize the transition, to allow free movement between states of matter and energy." With such an artifact, Nova said, eyes wide with realization, "We children could control our power, choose our form." "Precisely," Santor confirmed. "But the artifact was lost long ago, hidden away lest it fall into the wrong hands. Its location is unknown even to the Conclave." Ilara felt a glimmer of hope. "But you think we can find it?" "The artifact responds to the unique energy signature of beings like Nova," Santor explained. "With the right equipment, you could track it. But be warned, you will not be the only ones searching. The The Luminae, the Devourer, and other factions will stop at nothing to claim it. Ilara looked down at Nova, seeing the mix of fear and determination in those star-like eyes. She knew the path ahead would be fraught with danger, but the alternative, abandoning Nova and the other children to their fate, was unthinkable. "All right," Ilara said, squaring her shoulders. "We'll do it, but we'll need help, supplies, a ship, information about what we're up against." Santor's form rippled with approval. "The Conclave will provide what aid we can, but remember, we must maintain the balance. We cannot intervene directly in the struggles to come." As the chamber erupted into activity, various alien beings approaching to offer assistance and advice, Ilara knelt down to Nova's level. "Are you sure about this, little one? It's going to be dangerous." Nova's metallic skin shimmered with determination. "You chose to help me, Ilara. Now I choose this path. Together." Ilara felt a lump form in her throat. In the span of mere days, this alien child had become more important to her than she could have ever imagined. "Together," she agreed softly. As they turned to face the bustling chamber, Ilara's mind raced with the challenges ahead. They would be venturing into uncharted space, facing forces beyond human comprehension, all in search of an artifact that might not even exist. But looking down at Nova, seeing the trust and hope in those impossibly large eyes, Ilara knew that every risk, every hardship, would be worth it. For in their journey to save Nova and the other Luminae children, they just might end up saving the galaxy itself. With a deep breath, Ilara stepped forward, ready to embark on the greatest adventure of her life, a quest that would take her and Nova to the very edges of the known universe and beyond. The sleek ship provided by the Galactic Conclave sliced through the fabric of space-time, carrying Ilara and Nova towards their destiny. Months had passed since they'd left the Conclave's sanctuary, following the faint energy signature of the artifact across the vastness of the cosmos. Their journey had been fraught with perils. They'd narrowly escaped Luminae patrols, outsmarted rival treasure hunters, and even managed to temporarily incapacitate a tendril of the Devourer. Through it all, the bond between the human scientist and the alien child had grown stronger, transcending the boundaries of species and forging a connection that defied explanation. Now, as they approached the coordinates of their final destination, Ilara felt a mix of anticipation and dread. The artifact's energy signature pulsed stronger than ever, emanating from a massive, ancient space station that hung in orbit around a dying star. "It's beautiful," Nova whispered, pressing against the viewscreen. The station was a marvel of engineering, a series of interlocking rings that spun slowly, creating artificial gravity. Its surface was etched with glyphs and symbols from a dozen extinct civilizations. Ilara nodded, running a final check on their systems, and probably crawling with others looking for the artifact. "We'll have to be careful." As if in response to her words, the ship's sensors blared a warning. A massive energy signature was approaching fast, the unmistakable presence of the Devourer. "Hold on," Ilara shouted, throwing the ship into a series of evasive maneuvers. They barely managed to dock with the ancient station before the Devourer's tendrils lashed out, missing them by mere meters. Ilara and Nova raced through the station's airlock, the sounds of screeching metal echoing behind them as the Devourer began to tear into the structure. "We don't have much time," Ilara panted as they ran down twisting corridors. "Can you sense where the artifact is?" Nova's eyes were unfocused, its consciousness reaching out. Close, very close. But others too. Luminae, coming. They rounded a corner and found themselves in a vast chamber. At its center, floating in a column of energy, was an object that defied description, part crystal, part living tissue, pulsing with power that made Ilara's hair stand on end. "That's it," Nova breathed. "The Nexus Arc." Before they could approach, a familiar voice rang out. Step away from the Arc. Za'el materialized before them, flanked by other Luminae. Their forms crackled with barely contained energy. Ilara moved protectively in front of Nova. We've come too far to give up now. This isn't about your wars or your power struggles. It's about giving these children a choice. Za'el's eyes narrowed. You understand nothing, human. The cosmos hangs in the balance. The power of the Ark. His words were cut off as the chamber shook violently. The Devourer had breached the station's outer defenses. In the chaos that followed, Ilara saw her chance. She scooped up Nova and made a dash for the Ark. Energy blasts from the Luminae sizzled past them, but Nova raised a hand, instinctively deflecting them. Just as they reached the Ark, a tendril of the Devourer smashed through the chamber wall. Time seemed to slow as Ilara looked between the approaching horrors, the Luminae, the Devourer, and the pulsing power of the Ark itself. Nova, she said, locking eyes with the child she'd come to love as her own. Whatever happens, know that I. Nova placed a small, metallic hand on Ilara's cheek. I know, it said simply. Then, with a determined set to its shoulders, Nova turned and placed both hands on the Ark. A blinding light filled the chamber. Ilara felt a sensation like every atom of her being was singing in harmony with the universe. When her vision cleared, she gasped at the sight before her. Nova stood transformed. Its body shimmered with power, halfway between matter and energy. But its eyes, those beautiful star-like eyes, remained the same. I understand now, Nova said, its voice resonating with newfound strength. The Ark doesn't give control, it gives clarity. With a gesture, Nova froze the Luminae in place. Another wave of its hand sent the Devourer reeling back, howling in frustration. The children of the Luminae were never meant to be weapons or tools, Nova continued. We are bridges, between matter and energy, between the physical and the transcendent. Za'el, his form flickering as he fought against Nova's power, snarled. You would doom us all. Without your power, how will we fight? How will we survive? Nova's gaze was compassionate but firm. By remembering what you've forgotten, the joy of existence, the power of choice, the strength found in diversity. With a final surge of energy, Nova's consciousness expanded, touching the minds of every being on the station, Luminae, human, and even the vast, alien intellect of the Devourer. Ilara gasped as understanding flooded her mind. She saw the universe as Nova saw it, a vast, interconnected web of energy and matter, each part playing a crucial role in the cosmic dance. When the vision faded, the chamber was silent. The Luminae stood motionless, awe etched on their faces. Even the Devourer had retreated, its endless hunger temporarily sated by the revelation it had experienced. Nova turned to Ilara, a smile playing on its lips. It's done. The children will be safe now, free to choose their own paths. Ilara felt tears streaming down her face as she pulled Nova into a fierce hug. I'm so proud of you, she whispered. As the dust settled and the various factions began to come to terms with their new reality, Ilara and Nova stood hand in hand, gazing out at the stars. What now? Ilara asked softly. Nova's eyes twinkled with the light of infinite possibilities. Now we explore. There's a whole universe out there, full of wonders we've yet to discover. Ilara grinned, feeling a sense of adventure and purpose she'd never known before. Lead the way, little one. As their ship detached from the ancient station and set course for the unknown, Ilara reflected on the journey that had brought them to this point. It had begun with a simple act of kindness, a human reaching out to help an alien child, and it had ended with that same child reshaping the very fabric of galactic society. Whatever challenges lay ahead, whatever wonders awaited them in the vast expanse of space, Ilara knew that together, she and Nova could face anything, for they had discovered the greatest power in the universe, not in cosmic artifacts or energy beings, but in the simple, unbreakable bond between two souls who chose to stand together against the darkness. The stars stretched out before them, an infinite canvas of possibilities, and side by side, the human scientist and the child of stardust set out to write the next chapter of their cosmic adventure.